We just like a couple of hours ago went to go see The Flash in theaters, and we're going to do a non-spoiler review as we do for a couple of minutes, and I want you to give me, on a scale from 1 dead General Zods to 7 dead General Zods, how many dead General Zods
1 to 7?
Yeah. You're thinking, that sounds awfully arbitrary. Sounds like you just made it up off the top of your head.
I kind of am.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I mean, sorry. I'm rounding from my out of 10 score, so this is about like 2.5.
Okay, so it's either dead General Zod or Batman Lightning Kite.
But yeah, I would give this a 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was aggressively mediocre.
I'm gonna give it what 10-year-old Daniel would have given you,
Okay.
and then what I think.
Okay.
10-year-old Daniel would have given it 7 dead General Zods out of 7 dead General Zods. I give it like 4 out of 7.
Yeah.
Right. That being said, there was a lot of it that was like super mid. However, I was sitting there with a grin the entire fucking time.
Okay.
And it's fair, you entertained me. Mm-hmm. So there are movies that haven't done that. So like good for you.
I will say Michael Keaton is very definitely the best part of this entire movie.
Yeah.
Steals every scene he's in, makes the whole thing better by his inclusion.
Yeah, it's certainly the best actor too.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that Ezra Miller isn't a great actor, who actually, I know that you have a problem with their character a little bit.
Okay, so I can separate the character and the actor.
Yeah.
And the
me too. Yeah.
Outside life, because Ezra Miller's a piece of shit in real life.
Yep.
As an actor, Ezra Miller is quite good.
Yeah.
As a character, Barry Miller is aggressively annoying.
Yeah.
Like
that's why I've never really liked The Flash. Yeah. If I'm being honest, like I've never really liked him very much. He's like, here you kind of got a less charismatic Peter Parker thing going on.
It's like compressing the entire cast of Parks and Rec into one character.
Andy Dwyer.
He's just
from Parks and Rec.
He's just so aggressively awkward all the time. And like it's kind of whiplash because like sometimes he's super serious and trying to, get shit done. And then he's just so awkward the rest of the time.
So that being said, there are a couple of moments where Ezra Miller gives some really good performances.
Yeah.
And it makes me really sad that they're in the position that they're in right now, because in a world where Ezra Miller didn't assault and sexually harass people, they would probably be considered one of our better like actors.
Yeah.
That being said, that's not the world we live in, and Ezra Miller is a terrible person.
Should probably be in jail.
And certainly should not be working. You should not be starring in films. And if all of the if all of the news about Ezra Miller getting help, and that this doesn't erase what they did, but hopefully they are getting help. And I hate that that's one of the things that impacted this movie, was you could not be an asshole. So here we are. But I totally agree about the Michael Keaton thing. I think he's the whole reason I went to go see the movie. If they wouldn't have been like, here's a trailer, here's the '89 Batman theme, oh look, it's Michael Keaton, I'd have been like, I'm not seeing that movie. Even if the Ezra Miller stuff wasn't there, because I just don't care about the Flash very much. I'm gonna be real honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't like DC other than Batman, really. I've never really liked Superman.
Sure, yeah.
To me, Superman's just always
kind of boring.
Yeah. Like none of the DC, and look, I know that like if you're at home, you're like a huge DC fan. I totally get it, and it like they're like you find the thing in that one character that like really resonates with you, and that's how they're written. That's how they're meant to be. They're like they'll get someone out there, right? And I'm not trying to take that away from you. That's in your world, that's fucking awesome. And I'm glad that you enjoy that character. I don't like any of them really, other than Batman. And I think I like Batman so much because my dad liked Batman. I was just kind of like indoctrinated a little bit.
I will say the actress they got to play Superwoman,
Supergirl,
Superwoman, whatever. She was really good.
I liked her a lot too. What was her name?
While you're looking that up,
it's not Grant Gustin.
No, definitely not.
Sasha Cal.
Sasha Calle, that's right. Yeah, she was fantastic. Soundtrack was
fine.
Pretty good.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
It wasn't Alan Silvestri and Endgame or Infinity War.
No.
And in fact, the composer I didn't even recognize. I looked him up the other day and I don't remember his name. But it was fine. And there were a couple of moments.
There were a couple cues that were like borrowed really heavily from John Williams.
Yeah.
Which there are worse people to impersonate. Yeah. But
there's a purposeful John Williams quote, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Okay.
I think we have to talk about the CG.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
There were some parts, like a lot of the CG is fine. Some of it is really bad.
Yeah. I like how, like, when the DC movies started coming out, people were like, "Oh, it's so dark and gritty," and then like their response was like, "Oh, we'll just make it obnoxious and garish and really bright." And everything happens at daytime and everything. Yeah. And it's like, that's not better. That's just on the other end of the spectrum.
It's just easier to see how it looks bad.
And if you're going to put CG babies in your movie, make them look really good.
Yeah, they looked like dolls.
That's the thing, is that like if you're going to put a bunch of CG in a well-lit environment that happens during the day, you can't half-ass the CG. That's the whole reason every movie is dark as shit right now, is because they can kind of like hide some of their
fudge it and hide with shadows and things.
So if you don't have that, like it's got to look real fucking good, and it didn't. A lot of it looked fine. Some of it wasn't fine. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't fine. And it's like, this is happening right under the sun, and I can see that is clearly a computer generated baby. It's still cute, but it's still like, it's not real.
It also bugged me that a lot of the time when the Flash was running, like, his form is really bad.
Oh, you're not the first person. There was a whole thing about how Barry Allen runs as this version of the Flash. He does this weird, this weird arm flail thing. Yeah, and I think that's a choice that they made, or at least maybe Ezra Miller made for the character. I don't think anyone runs like that in real life.
I'd hope they don't.
Yeah. So let's go through the plot a little bit.
Okay.
I think I said
spoilers. I should mention this movie literally came out today.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, that's fine. If you're planning to see it in theaters, just turn the stream off right now and go see it.
Yeah. This also will be a video that'll be up on YouTube later. So if you're here from the future, make sure you like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications and all that stuff. Okay. So when I read the reviews for this, one of the things I saw that made me disappointed was this is very much a Barry Allen story. And it wasn't necessarily because I was disappointed that a Flash movie would be about the Flash. It's just that it wasn't going to be about Batman.
There's so much Michael Keaton in the previews.
Yeah. And he's in it quite a bit, but it is a Barry Allen story. And it opens with an action set piece.
Well, it opens with Barry Allen in the coffee shop, not able to get his regular morning sandwich, has like 1 billion calories.
Yeah, right, because he's got his little watch.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, you don't have any calories, you can't use your Flash power. And you're like, God damn it!
I think it's called the Speed Force, which is actually sounds kind of dumber than your Flash powers.
Yeah. So Alfred calls.
Alfred gives him a
Alfred's like, hey, shit in Gotham is on fire. Get over here. We need your help. And Barry's like, God damn it! I just want my sandwich.
Yeah. He's like, wait. Did Batman set the fires? He's like, yeah. He's like, fucking figures.
That fucking guy.
Yeah. And so I guess this has literally no impact on the story at all. But
it's completely disconnected. Yeah. But so
some guys broke into a hospital to steal a virus.
Yeah.
Which they don't keep those at hospitals. Not in weaponized form.
No.
And Batman was chasing him, and to escape Batman, they blew something up. And so now
the entire hospital's collapsing.
Right. And of course, Batman doesn't stay to help people. He's like, I'm going to go beat the bad guys up. Fucking Barry Allen will take care of everyone else. The thing that really cracks me up is throughout this whole thing, when he's talking out loud, he refers to Batman as Bruce. It's like,
dude,
there are people around you.
Like they can hear you.
Yeah. It reminds me of that. There's a really hilarious scene from Amazing Spider-Man 2 in the Andrew Garfield one, where Spider-Man webs Gwen Stacy to something or something, and then with a bunch of people around goes, Peter, and then realizes what she did, and then like covers her mouth, and then realizes everyone was kind of doing their own thing.
Fix it.
Yeah. And it's just like, it kind of just reminded me of that. So the building starts collapsing, and to raise the stakes,
there's a fucking baby ward at the top that all the babies start falling down.
And so this is actually honestly a genuinely hilarious sequence where each baby falling has its own impending doom. Like the one baby has
like scalpels coming towards it.
Literally
like acid coming at it.
Yeah, and then the one's got like a flamethrower thing and is about to be cooked alive. And there's like a therapy dog that's falling too with his fucking tongue hanging out. It's fucking great.
So what does Barry Allen do? He busts open a vending machine, eats every bit of candy inside of it, suddenly has enough calories to grab all the babies and the dog, stack them on a stretcher, save the nurse from the maternity ward.
He stuffs one baby in a microwave to save him from the flames, which I thought was really funny. This really is like, this is genuinely hilarious. Like it was really great.
Well done scene. It's a good way to start your movie.
The CG was not great. It did not look great. It like the babies, because obviously you're not gonna. It's not like they have stunt babies, right? It's not like they're gonna just toss a baby.
You can't toss a baby out of a building in slow motion.
So I totally get. You got to do CG, right?
Just try to make the babies look less plastic next time.
Yeah, it's just it was a little. But to be honest, there was something about it that made me feel a little at ease, because I feel like maybe if they looked too real, I'd be like, oh no. So Barry saves the day, right? And he actually Wonder Woman saves the day.
Well, Batman is chasing the robbers across town, like crossing the bridge. He eventually beats 3 of the guys up. One of them jumps out of the car to avoid having to deal with Batman.
Which, by the way, this entire Batman sequence, Ben Affleck was not a part of.
Really?
There's no way. Like, he was not in any of these scenes.
Yeah,
his face was.
Yeah.
He was not. And you can tell because Batman's face looks funky as fuck. Like, it's weird, and there's like some uncanny valley shit going on. That being said, he's got some badass moves. Like and I love like the blue cowl and the gray suit and everything. Like that shit was really neat. And he does this neat like jump off his fucking motorcycle and ski on the street, and like the shit from the trailer. Which, by the way, they gave everything away in the trailer pretty much. If you want to go in and watch this movie and be surprised, and you haven't seen the trailers yet, don't watch them, because they really do give a lot of it away.
So Batman fucking like grapples, has the dude in one hand. He's
and if it touches he's got the case handcuffed to him. If the virus
falls into the bay, it kills half of Gotham or whatever,
or explodes or whatever. Yeah.
And then fucking Wonder Woman shows up with a fucking lasso of truth and saves the day.
Yeah. Like the one Hans Zimmer thing I've heard that I'm like, all right,
that's all right.
Yeah, that's all right.
So she hauls him up on the bridge, and there's a funny sequence where Batman and the criminal are like spouting their truth.
They do the lasso of truth gag, which they did in Justice League, but they cut out for the Snyder cut,
of course,
because it was a little goofy, and Batman goes on about how he's like, my ego would never allow me to thank you, and he's like, my dead parents, and like the criminal's like, yeah, I actually like had shit like that in my childhood too. And I thought it was really funny that like they're probably more alike than they, like the criminal and Batman are probably a little bit more alike than they thought.
I mean, that's Batman's gag with every one of his villains, isn't it? Like, what? He's more like his villains than either of them want to admit.
Yeah, probably. And then for some reason, Barry throws himself into the mix. He's like, I'm going to touch the rope.
Help untie him. He's like, I'm a virgin.
Yeah, pretty much that's exactly what he says. So they save the day. Everyone's fine. No one dies. But at least there are no babies that die. And there is a conversation. He talks to his dad, who famously Barry Allen's father was accused of his mother's murder and is sent to prison. And he has an appeal coming up the next day. And Barry, like his father's kind of resigned himself. He's like, I'm going to be here forever. Yeah. Like, you need to move on with your life. You need to go fix this virgin thing. Everyone's real embarrassed about this.
Isn't that one girl you knew in college? You should fucking give her a call.
Right. And then the next time you go in touch with the lasso of truth, you'll have something interesting to say.
I had sex last week.
Yeah. And so he's like, don't stop worrying about me. And he can't. He's unable because he knows like one of those like personal truths. He knows his dad didn't do it. And the thing that pops up a couple of times is that like the exonerating evidence would have been
there's security footage that shows that his dad was in a grocery store at the time his mother was killed,
right?
But the footage doesn't show his face,
right? Because I guess Bruce Wayne personally writes an algorithm for a program and like restores this old archival footage they had.
But his dad was wearing a hat, so you can't see his face in the store.
And so he relives what happens to his mother, which I thought was actually one of those moments where it felt really real, and Ezra Miller's performance was actually really, really good. And so we kind of see what happens. We see the relationship between young Barry and his mother, and how like loving of a family he had, and just how like I think that maybe they hinted at the fact that maybe Barry feels carries some of the guilt, because when his dad tells him to call 911, he runs away, like he runs out of the house. So maybe he also thinks he's partly responsible because he wasn't able to get help or anything. Which ends up leads to a conversation he has with Bruce Wayne.
Well, first he runs so fast, he almost breaks through and goes to the past.
Right.
But then he's kind of catapulted back into
which
the present.
This should not. This is a weird thing about how it fits into the established canon, which is not going to be established anymore after this. Yeah. Like after this, all this is obliterated. So Justice League came out, and at the end they defeat Metallicorn Man, whatever the fuck his name was. Mm-hmm. And in the Snyder Cut, some really bad shit happens, and Barry has to turn back time to stop Batman and everyone else from dying. So it feels like in the film, he's discovering this power for the first time, when if you've seen the Snyder Cut, he did this already.
The Snyder Cut isn't canon, though.
Right, but people were swearing that any minute now they were going to canonize
any minute now, bro.
Yeah. So they like he's got this similar idea where he can
wait a minute, I can just go back in time and save my mom. Right. And Bruce is like, you don't want to do that. It's going to fuck with shit. If you step on one blade of grass, it could give everybody Ebola and make them die.
This is one thing I get real pissed off about this version of the DC universe. I think not only was Ben Affleck an amazing Bruce Wayne Batman in a shitty movie, I'm really upset for him that I can see why he walked away from the project, from being Batman, because he is fantastic. He is so good. And there's he mentions, like, he's like, I could save my parents. I could go back and save your parents. And he gives Barry this look like, you don't think I've thought about this before. And like, it's just this moment where he kind of like, he's got this, it's like he kind of pities Barry a little bit, and but just for a second he thinks about it, and he's kind of like, wouldn't that be nice? And that's a great performance. Like, this is the shit we could have had in the earlier Batman stuff. Like, we could have had a more complex Bruce Wayne than we had, because honestly, Bruce Wayne isn't very complex in the other movies. Or did they try to make it? That's probably another debate for another time, because like there are actually some good examples of this. But I think most people will agree that Ben Affleck was criminally underused when you consider like his actual acting chops, right? So he's like, you could save them, or you could kill all of existence everywhere in every universe ever. And Barry's like,
I'm willing to take that chance.
Yeah, I'll do it. And so and it's his crush. He has a talk with his crush, and he has a realization while talking to his crush that he doesn't have to go and interact with anyone, because it's like, as anyone who has ever seen Back to the Future knows, is a no-no. He could do something else.
Yes.
Now, since
his dad went to the store because his mom forgot to buy a can of tomatoes for the sauce she was making. So if she doesn't forget the can of tomatoes, he never goes to the store. Nothing
no
ever
murder.
happens.
And it's kind of perfect. Like you're like, shit, that actually kind of checks out.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Just do it.
So he speed forces back in time. He's in the store.
Grabs the can, puts it in the cart. She never notices. And that's it.
He fucks off. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
And he thinks, well, I went back in time in my universe. So I'm going to go forward in time.
And I'll show up in my universe.
I'll go back in time or I'll go back to where I was.
Forward in time. Yeah.
And when I go to see my mother, she'll be there. And so he gets there and she's alive.
Well, he's running in that direction, and then someone else shows up and punches him.
Yeah.
So hard he ends up. He doesn't know this, but a couple of years before where he wanted to be.
Right. Which, by the way, anyone who's ever read or watched the animated version of Flashpoint knows who this is.
This is the Reverse Flash or something like that.
Right. So yeah, he gets attacked. I like the character design for Reverse Flash. Right? It's pretty neat. But you kind of know if you know the lore, you kind of know what's going on with that. So
he shows up at his house and his mom is there, and he's like, "Oh my God, Mom!" And they have this real touching reunion.
Yeah.
His dad's like, yeah, shit, you look old as hell. What are they doing to you at that school?
Yeah, you got your hair cut. which like, you're like, uh-oh.
Wait, what?
Uh-oh, yeah. They sit down for dinner. He fucking is shoveling shit in his mouth. And
real awkward conversation.
Yeah.
He looks up and he sees himself walking up
with a bag of laundry. Yep.
He's like, shit, I gotta go do something. Hang on.
Yeah. Well, actually, what he said is, I have to go shit. Which is
outside.
Yeah, right. So he goes and
he like tackles himself.
He tries to fashion a mask out of underwear so that like it wouldn't really be an interaction.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work because it's like that's obviously stupid.
So they're up in his room, right? Him and his 18-year-old self.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so you're telling me that you're me, but older and with superpowers. That's cool. I want superpowers. And Old Barry is like, no, you don't. This shit sucks.
Yeah. Also, you seem like a total dipshit. And I don't think that would be a good idea.
He's like, wait a minute. It just started thunderstorming outside. What day is today? It's the day you get your powers. Shit, it's the day I get my powers. We have to take you to where I was when I got my powers so that you can get your powers.
Right. Because if you don't get your powers...
all of space-time collapses.
I don't know what happened. Right? Yeah, he doesn't know what happened.
I don't know how I get home.
Yeah. So they go to
the forensics lab where he interned as a freshman.
Right. And they set up he sets up the conditions.
The chemicals are here. The chair is here. You just need to sit here. I'm going to open the window. You're going to get struck by lightning. And young Bear's like,
what?
You never said anything about lightning.
Yeah.
So he's like struggling to put him in the chair. And then lightning strikes. It hits Old Barry in the chest. Passes through and hits young Barry, and they both fall down.
One of them loses a tooth.
Yeah. Old
Barry loses a tooth. Not that it literally has, except for the very last scene of the movie, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And they learn that Old Barry has lost his powers and young Barry has gotten powers. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah. It was a neat little twist because I think we all, it's like, this is one of those moments in the trailer that they kind of led you to believe that they were working on getting other Barry powers instead of original Barry losing his powers, which I thought was kind of interesting. So now...
So they go back to
Barry Prime doesn't have powers.
Yeah, they go back to young Barry's apartment, and Old Barry's like, okay, listen very carefully. You have super speed powers. I have super speed powers. Runs around the room. No, seriously, you need to listen to me. You're going to get very, very hungry and you're going to do a whole bunch of crazy shit. Yeah. And if you run too fast, your clothes will light on fire. And young Bear's like, bye, and runs out the door, runs around. His clothes light on fire. He tries to eat shit. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. He like Barry's got a phasing power where he can like phase through the wall and shit. So he learns how to do that and phases into his neighbors like underneath him, and he's like butt naked and shit, and comes back up with a saucepan over his dick.
Yeah.
So they they wake up the next morning, and he kind of like he shows them how to use the suit, which I thought it was interesting.
The first thing I think is that they start looking for everyone else.
All the other the Justice League. Yeah.
So he looks up Cyborg's real name, and he's just some football player. Yeah. Shit, I guess he's not Cyborg yet. Yeah. Let's look up Wonder Woman. It's this weird performer,
80-year-old magician. Yeah.
Okay, let's try Arthur Curry. Oh, hey, there's a lighthouse in Maine with his father's name. Let me just call him. And Arthur's your dog.
Yeah. Great Tamara Morrison cameo, by the way.
Oh, that's Tamara Morrison, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he plays Arthur's father in the Aquaman movies.
Very neat.
And his mother's played by Nicole Kidman. No, it's not Nicole Kidman.
Well, anyway, so they have a sequence where...
It is Nicole Kidman. Oh, shit.
Well, yeah. Okay. So they have a sequence where old Barry shows young Barry the suit and how to use his powers. And then General Zod starts invading.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, yeah, the day after I get my powers, General Zod shows up.
Yeah.
Which is a really good connective tissue to Man of Steel. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much what, like, the thing that happens in Man of Steel. Yep. General Zod shows up and he's like, fucking give me Superman or I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill everyone anyway.
I'm just going to kill everyone. Yeah.
And his plan was because if you've seen Man of Steel, his father hides a genetic codex in Kal-El's like DNA or whatever. Mm-hmm. And Zod wants to extract it and terraform Earth and turn it into a new Krypton.
Yeah.
In the process of killing
everybody,
all the humans. Yeah.
So finally Barry's like, well, shit. All right. I guess we got to go find Batman. Let's just fucking go to Wayne Manor. We're going to find Batman. Wayne Manor is this like weed overgrown, almost ruin at this point.
Yep.
So
very familiar looking mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Barrys go inside and they're like, hey, Bruce, you here?
This is so fucking funny. Like I shat my pants. So like they're going through the whole house, right? And like you can tell this is not a Batman or a Bruce Wayne that's had an Alfred around quite a while, right? And they get to the kitchen, which is a beautiful old style kitchen, and they notice that like there's water boiling in a pot and shit, and they're like trying to figure it out, and like blurred in the background, you see a cabinet door open, and this long-haired, homeless-looking guy crawl out of the cabinet and start whooping their ass, like swinging from the chandelier. And like the one, like
kicks the shit out of old Barry because he doesn't have
powers, right?
Young Barry is able to like speed force around it to not get hit.
And lo and behold, like at the end of like he crashes into something, and it's fucking
Michael Keaton,
Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, Bruce Wayne, who's apparently been pissing into jars and like whatever like crazy old men thing, and they're like they kind of explain it to him. They're like Zod's invading. We need Superman, and there's a whole gag of it, like where he's like, "Wow, Superman's kind of on the nose." Like, don't you think?
He fucking flies and shoots lasers out of his dick. That's kind of
And so they're like, "This is how we stop this. This is how we save Earth. Is we go and find Kal-El. Do you want in?" And he's like, "No, pass." See you later.
Well,
gets up and walks away.
First, he pulls out 2 dried pieces of pasta. And he's like, okay. So this is what happens with time, right? So you change time, right? You think that just means that you made a slight divergence at that point. What that actually means is that you have changed both the past and the future.
Yeah.
And like he makes a little cross with him. Like there's this connection at this one point, but like you're not on your timeline anymore.
Yeah. Pretty much what he said. His entire lecture is stop getting your quantum physics from Back to the Future. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
If it's anything we've learned about from comic movies presently, this and fucking Avengers Endgame, that's not how time works. Time works differently, right? So
anyway, this is why I'm Michael Keaton and not Ben Affleck.
Right. Yeah. So does it make sense now? They're like, okay, but so do you want to help us? And he's like, no, I think I'm done now. I've eaten a little spaghetti. I am actually 109 years old, and now I'm kind of achy.
I'm retired. Yeah. Get the fuck out of my house.
There's a really great line about how like Barry's like we need Batman, and he's like, no one needs Batman anymore. Gotham City's crime free, which as an idea is kind of crazy when you think about how much of a shithole Gotham City is, and the fact that Michael Keaton's Batman achieved his goal. He eliminated crime in Gotham City, and so that he just cooks pasta in his house now. That's just what he does. Yeah. And so he fucks off. Mm-hmm. And what's really funny is he doesn't even tell him to get out. He's just like, I'm going to a different room in this giant house. So Barry's like, okay, if Batman doesn't help us, fine. We'll just take all of Batman's shit.
We'll just find Superman ourselves.
Right. So they go to a hidden entrance, which apparently must be constant through all the universes, to a secret entrance to the Batcave. And so they go down there, and it's the fucking Batcave from Batman 89. And I swear to God, these scenes like were written for me.
Yep.
Because every part of it is so familiar and it's so fucking cool. There's a gag where he pulls the cover off the Batmobile, which is my favorite Batmobile.
And it's literally
just
the Batmobile from A9.
Yeah. And they turn the Bat computer on. There's a really funny gag where Newberry speeds around to look at everything. And he pulls out, he's like, oh, what is this? And it's like a little silk bag that's laughing, which is, if you've seen 89 Batman, in the very last, or one of the very last scenes of the movie, after Batman murders the Joker, which he does, he falls hundreds of feet onto the concrete. And when they find his should have been disfigured body, there's a goofy laughing sound, and they pull it out of a tape recorder that's in this little bag in his jacket. And that, like, he's just like, what the fuck is this? And it's the same fucking thing, right? Which I was like, ugh. And then, like, when he's speeding around, there's he almost, the Batmobile
almost runs off the Batmobile.
Yeah, the Batmobile's parked in a very unwise place. And this is a callback to 89 Batman when he takes Vicky Vale to the Batcave. The second time Alfred just shows her in when he's not in costume and like blows the whole thing. And she almost falls off the edge too. And I think it was also really cool, as the lights are turning on, there are just like hundreds of bats just like everywhere. And it makes sense now because he probably hasn't been down there in decades. So like, it's, so he starts using the Bat computer. And what he's trying to find is,
he's trying to look for the Kal-El he knows. So he starts searching for Clark Kent, and then he tries to cross-index from all the NASA UFO entries sightings in Kansas, and he's working really hard, and he's not really getting anywhere because there's just like a billion Clark Kents.
Idiot Barry falls asleep in the Batmobile, which is like, I'd get it. That's what I would do. Yeah. It's like, I'm never sleeping anywhere else in my life.
Old Barry looks up at the webcam and says, look, you fuckhead, like, I'm trying to save the entire fucking world here. Can you just throw me a bone? Like, yeah. And he's like, the thing that I don't understand is, like, you had an Alfred. My Batman had an Alfred. Like there are all these things that it's these canon event things from Spider-Verse, which are all these similarities in all the different universes that must be there. And it's not based on science. It's a storytelling thing to be like, this is why everything is pretty much the same, but a little bit different. Right. And I thought it was a really, he has a pen that has a little inscription from Alfred on it, which Michael goes, Alfred was famously beloved in the older Batman movies, was in all of them, from 89 to George Clooney's Batman. And so, of course, like, what's really funny is he turns to the camera, he's like, motherfucker, I know you're watching me. And he's sitting there with his cup of coffee, and he's just watching him and everything. And he does a good call to action. He's like, what the fuck, man? Let's save the fucking world. Yeah, man. Come on.
So, and he mentions one of the canon events being Bruce's parents, right? And so Bruce turns around, and for a second you think he's just going to lovingly stroke the picture of his parents on and he's just like, he like goes to touch and just slaps it aside and hits a button. And
he retinal scans him, and he goes
full bookcase. And it's his like costume vault. Which this was also from the trailer. They shouldn't have spoiled it. This would have been an awesome moment, not knowing it going in. There's his like most recent bat suit, but also the bat suit from 89. And it's that one because when Joker pulls out his 9-foot pistol and shoots him, when he crawls out of the wreckage of the Batwing, his suit's all fucked up, and the emblem on his chest has this really recognizable mark on it, right? And it's that. Also his bat suit from Batman Returns, which is like the more Art Deco styled lines and shit. And there are a few more. There's like a Halo drop one where it was got like a glider on it or something, and then there's like actually the one looks like do you remember like have you seen Justice League, right?
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck has that vision Darkseid taking over with his parademons, and he's out in the desert with his goggles and a gun and shooting demons and shit. It looked a whole bunch like that, actually, like a desert warfare Batman. And the one that I thought was really neat is a Batman the Animated Series Batman, which with the blue cowl and the gray suit and everything, which I thought was just fucking great. So
old Barry passes the fuck out doing Google searches on the Bat computer. He wakes up and there's a little folder from Bruce who has done all the research and found out that
just in a matter of like a couple hours, figured it out.
That the alien they're looking for is in Siberia at this Russian black site.
Right. And if you're thinking, wow, that's really convenient for the plot, remember it's the world's greatest fucking detective. Yeah. Like it probably took him 10 minutes.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, cool, we're going to Russia. And Young Bear's like, how the fuck are we getting to Russia? And then
I thought you'd never ask.
The Batwing comes out of the ceiling and Bruce is like, get in, bitches, we're going to Russia.
There's a really funny part where he shows up in the suit and like Barry Prime is like, oh, what a badass. And like idiot Barry like passes out. Yeah. And he makes he makes a comment earlier about seeing the Batmobile on the news when he was a kid, which I thought was a really neat, like that Barry Allen existed in the 89 Batman, which I like. That's kind of a neat thought. So they fuck off to Russia, and then honestly, a badass looking Batwing. Yeah, like there's a $40 toy of this, like a big thing at Target, and I am buying it. It's gonna go somewhere in here.
So there's a shot where like they're parachute dropping to this base in Russia, and there's the shot of the Batwing outlined by the moon, and they're all
right. Yeah, actually, they like. That the Batwing's design is kind of neat because it has a fuselage and the wings revolve around it when it needs to. Yeah. And so he puts it in like deployment mode where they're like their legs are just hanging out into space and they're about to jump and he's like, your parachutes are already attached to you, and they're like, where is your parachute? And he's like,
kind of smirks.
Yeah, he's like, bitch, I'm Batman. I don't need a parachute. And he just fucking drops, dead weight drops out, right? And does his fucking Batman
flaps
thing.
Out his cape and glides
fucking
down.
Oh, it's so good. And in a very obvious but so sexy nod to the 89 Batman, has the Batwing in front of the moon and everything, and at a different angle. Looks a little less cheesy. That's what I love about the 89 one, but it was a whole thing. So they land and they go to this black site.
Yep.
Where the Russians are. And are they still Soviets, by the way?
Maybe.
I just had a thought about it because they had like the Russian star, right?
Yeah, they had a big red star, but I didn't see any hammer and sickle, so I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know much about
they're sneaking into the base, and Young Barry has the Flash suit because he's the one with powers. And of course, Young Barry immediately starts making a whole bunch of noise and getting attention. And one of the
there's a reason we keep calling him Idiot Barry.
One of the Russian scientists sounds the alarm, and there's a bunch of guys with guns who come out and shoot him, and there's a fight scene where Batman saves everyone because that's what he does.
And it's actually like it's very CG. You can tell. Like they obviously had like an acting double for Michael Keaton, but you can tell that
because there's no fucking way 70-year-old Michael Keaton was doing any of that.
The problem that I had is in most of the action shots, his cape is CG. And it's very obviously CG, and it kind of like took me out of it a little bit. But there's a really great reveal where like they're surrounded by guys in guns, and like one of them looks up, and he like Batman's just standing over the edge, looking down at them like motherfuckers. And then he says either to them or to himself, this is going to hurt. And I'm glad they didn't clarify it, because in my mind, I think he's talking to himself.
Yeah,
because he's so fucking old. And so he swoops down and kicks everyone's ass. And this part of it, like the hand-to-hand combat, is fucking sweet.
Yeah,
like it looks so good, and like there are a lot of limitations to the action in the older Batman in the first two.
Starting with the fact that Michael Keaton couldn't turn his head,
which they make a gag about it later on. Yeah, so it's like the action looks a little less robotic and stiff, and like he beats their asses. Yeah. Now, don't forget, Batman has no problem killing somebody.
This Batman has killed many people.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's Batman doesn't give a fuck. So, like, that he's capable of stuffing TNT in a man's pants, throwing him into a pit, and just seeing chunks of him blow up.
Yeah.
Or aiming all of your armaments on your fucking plane at one person and shooting every missile and machine gun at him, literally hoping to kill him, right? and some of his hand-to-hand stuff in the older movies looks like it's, it does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the action was improved, and like that fight scene looked really good. Like he beats the shit out of him, and it's fast, and he hits really hard, and like if it were any other 70-year-old man, you'd be like, that guy's dead. But like it's fucking Batman, so like of course
he's fine.
Yeah, so they kick everyone's ass.
They keep going through the base, and they find this like giant containment cell, and
several scrotum jokes.
Yes,
yeah.
Batman fucking pulls out his pager, like plugs it into the console.
It's a flip phone.
Oh, is it a flip phone?
Yeah, I think it's a flip phone, yeah.
And he starts like punching in a password and it's not working. And Idiot Bear is like, I got this, and types in every single possible combination using the Speed Force, and the containment ball pops open. And they go in there, hoping to find Kal-El.
Kal-El, yeah.
And they don't find him. What they find instead is this very emaciated looking woman.
Yeah. Fucking spine showing through the shirt and everything, yeah.
And Old Barry is like, well, shit, we came here, we found her. I guess we might as well take her, even though she's not who we're looking for.
Yeah. So like she's clearly in trouble.
Yeah. So that they get out. They start running again. They run into more security. Young Barry like punches a guy, but then gets shot through the knee, which would really fucking suck if your whole power is based on running real fast.
Yes.
So they keep running.
You need your legs for running, yeah.
They eventually get out. Like they stumble to the surface just as the sun is rising, and the sun starts to hit this very bad looking
emaciated.
Yeah, and like you can see the skin tightening on her, and like there's some muscle regrowing maybe. And then a bunch of Russians come out, and they're about to shoot everyone. And then she just sort of fucking pops up, starts flying around, beating the shit out of all of them, like throwing them 10 feet.
Yeah. So the way they frame this, by the way, is great, because like the Barrys know they're fucked. I think that Batman notices that she's moved, and like both of the Barrys look at Batman. They're like, "What do we do now?" He's like, "Well, we try not to die." But his hand is framed in a way where when he closes his hand, you see her floating there behind him, and it's like, oh, this is another thing they shouldn't have put in the trailer.
Yeah,
because it's in the trailer and it's badass. But I would have loved to see that for the first time in theaters, right? And they do. She's fucking Superman, right?
Yeah.
And they use the same style of movement and fighting for her that they use for Henry Cavill Superman in Man of Steel,
which makes sense.
Yeah, where it's very like. It's not like Barry running fast where he like everything slows down around him and he just kind of like slowly changes things.
Yeah, she's just going really fast and hitting really hard. Yeah,
she snaps from person to person, and you can't your eye can't see it, and all of a sudden people are just flying in the air and shit. And it's really cool. It's like one of the things they got right about the combat and everything. And so I guess they killed all the Russians. Like, and the one thing they changed in the trailer, I believe, is There's a shot of slow, and this is where the CG gets kind of wide. There's lots of uncanny valley in this kind of thing. I think they were kind of like, it's so badass they probably won't notice, and for the most part it is. But in the trailer, there's a slowed down Batman going to punch a Russian dude, and then she just comes in and punches him instead.
Yeah.
In the movie, I noticed that the dude had a gun and had gotten a shot off. It was going to hit him in the face, and she hits the bullet and then hits the guy in the face. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's actually kind of cool, because he probably would have been fucking done there. And she's like, well, I'm sleepy now. I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah.
And she passes out.
And like, well, shit, let's just fucking go back to the mansion and try and take stock of what we got here.
Yeah.
So they do. Yeah. There's a sequence of Bruce Wayne like stitching himself up and like looking in the mirror and giving himself a weird kind of look.
I knew the look as soon as he did it. It kind of clued me in on what was going to happen at the end. The look he gave himself was, I've never felt this alive. Right? You can tell that he's not been Batman for a long time, and he's like, I'm stitching myself up. This is so fucking cool, right?
So the Barrys are watching the news and seeing Zod is like giving his ultimatum, saying, fucking, give me Superman. Yeah. And then like the Supergirl is like sleeping on the table behind them, and she wakes up and is like, who the fuck are you? And they're like, we're Barry. Who are you? She's like, I'm Kara. Also, where's the sun? I need sunlight.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, okay, Idiot Barry.
It's outside. Like it always is.
Tell you what, Idiot Barry will take you up to the roof and we'll grab your cool suit and take that up too.
This was around like I really had to pee.
Yeah.
Because I drank too much soda. I think this is right around where I got it for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a good conversation that I missed between Bruce and Barry, right?
Yeah. So let me think. So first thing that happens is up on the roof, like Kara is like floating in her suit and she's like obviously absorbing all the sunlight, and young Barry's like, oh, you're solar powered. That's cool. You know, we're trying to go solar here because, you know, we're kind of fucking up the earth. And she's like, yeah, see, like Zod's trying to kill you all, but I don't know that I really care because like I crawled out of a meteor and your people imprisoned me.
Yeah.
And Barry's like, well, okay, yeah, there are some humans who are dickbags, but there are some good people too.
To be fair, a lot of us are cunts.
Yes.
I'm very sorry.
She's like, yeah, you're not really inspiring me to save you at this point, so I'm just gonna go. Bye. She flies away. Down in the Batcave, Bruce and old Barry are talking, and Bruce is like, let me guess, you're here, you fucking changed time to save your mom's life, right? And Barry's like, yes. Bruce is like, and you never told the other guy that, did you? And Barry's like, no, I didn't. Bruce is like, you maybe should, you know, just to get that out in the open. And Barry's like, I don't really want to. And unbeknownst to them, young Barry is sitting like underneath the catwalk below them, having heard the whole conversation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That's the part I missed.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes another line later on make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Kara's flying around. She ends up at like seeing Zod meet the military for the first time, where Zod comes out and says, where the fuck's the Kryptonian?
Yeah. You
don't have him? All right, fine. We're just gonna fucking kill you all. And you know, they start the war. And Kara's like, shit, that's not good.
Yeah.
So she goes back to Wayne Manor. Meanwhile, at the manor, old Barry and Bruce are trying to recreate the science experiment that gave him his powers.
Yeah.
So Bruce is like, so let me get this straight. You want me to douse you in industrial chemicals and then strike you with lightning? Barry's like, yes. Bruce
Did I stutter? Yeah.
This is the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard. I'm in.
Yeah.
So he gets out his bat kite, which is just the Batman logo with a lightning rod.
He did not fabricate this for this event.
No, he had it.
Why?
He just had it lying around.
For what purpose? Like,
because Batman is always prepared.
I just have that, like, you know, he's done lightning experiments before. Yep. He's there's that like one suspect perfectly shaped hole in the ceiling that it kind of is through.
Yeah.
Like it's like he was like reading a Benjamin Franklin biography or something and was like,
that's cool. I want to do that.
You know what? I've never flown a kite in a lightning storm. I'll make my kite, but it will be the bat symbol. Because everything, it's the funniest shit in the older Batman films. Everything is branded, right? Even the little CD player he's got has got the bat symbol on it.
Sure, merchandise.
Yeah. So it's I laughed. I thought that was really funny.
So they rig old Barry up. He's in his chair and they're like, all right, fucking do it, Bruce. And Bruce like flips the switch and the kite gets struck by lightning and Barry gets fucking electrocuted. And like, that didn't work. Old Barry's like, fucking do it again.
Yeah.
Bruce is like, if you say so. He flips the switch. The machinery broke. It's not working anymore.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Bruce is like kind of excited to see where all this is going. Yeah. Where he's like, I'll zap him again. Yeah. He'll be all right.
So fucking Supergirl shows up, grabs him out of the chair, says, I got this, flies him up into the electrical storm.
It's like, you know your guys' problem. You're trying to bring the thunderstorm to Barry. Yeah. How about I take Barry to the thunderstorm?
So he gets struck by lightning again.
Yeah.
She brings him back to the cave and he's like lying there dead.
Yeah.
Young Barry's like, holy shit, he's dead.
Yeah.
And then he starts healing because that's just what the Flash does.
They made a physical contact and there was like a zappy zap and then he started, I think that idiot Barry had something to do with it or something.
Probably, yeah. So they're gearing up for the final battle. Old Barry has his regular Flash suit back. Young Barry starts chopping up an old bat suit and like spray painting it and shit. They
put in like the 4 seconds of him sawing the ears off off the bat cowl, which I thought was fucking hilarious.
So Kara's like, hey, you fucking got your powers back. You know if this thing on my chest means? And she's like, and Barry's like, yeah, it means hope.
Yeah, I fucking saw Man of Steel. Okay.
She's like, how the fuck do you know that? I'm not even gonna ask.
Yeah.
Well, let's just fucking go beat up Zod. And Michael Keaton is like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Which is another thing they put in the trailers they should not have put in because like I'm a part of a couple. I frequent a couple of Batman communities on Facebook because the 89 Batman Returns is my favorite Batman ever. And when that trailer came out with the "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts," those communities exploded. And that's the kind of thing that if you had just had the restraint to hold until they saw it, people would be talking about that right now. Like shit like that. They'd be like, this movie is fucking insane. Like they did the "let's get nuts," right? But they gave it away in the trailer. So like, you know, I wasn't surprised by it. Good fucking line though, because it's one of Michael Keaton's more questionable performances in the 89 Batman. And you kind of wonder if it's just a take he did for fun, just to see if he was doing it too much. And like Tim Burton was like, "I love that," and put it in the movie.
Of course Tim Burton said that.
Yeah. He like didn't underestimate, like he
do not threaten Tim Burton with
weird
time.
shit. Yeah. He's like, you didn't have to sell me on this. So yeah, they
hop in the Batwing and Kara's just flying outside and they go to fight Zod.
There's a gag with the phone, like, because I think they're kind of hinting that Idiot Barry and Supergirl, like he
obviously had a crush on her.
Right.
Yeah. So the Barrys get out and they're going to take out the Kryptonian soldiers on the ground. Supergirl is going to beat up Zod and Batman is going to fly around and blow up the Kryptonian ships.
Now, this battle I thought was fairly atypical for movies of this kind, because generally, like in the MCU, there's a lot of cuts in the action and there's a very poor sense of geography of where you are. And they do that really well in this fight, where you'll spend some time with Barry and Barry. And then the camera will pan up to the Batwing. And then you spend some time with him. And you never during the battle do you get lost. Like you know kind of where everything is. It also helps that everything's flat. They're in the middle of the desert.
They're in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. So like there's that. But also like it's kind of nice to be able to keep track of where everything is. It's one of those things that people subconsciously notice, but you don't realize it until it stops making sense. And you're like, I don't like this. I don't know why, but this is weird.
So things are going pretty well at first. Old Barry mentors young Barry, and then they do some cool team up shit. And
teaches him a Palpatine
teaches him
maneuver.
to shoot lightning. And Supergirl is beating the shit out of Zod, and Batman is blowing shit up. And it's all going pretty well. And then it stops going so well.
Yeah.
Zod fucking stabs Supergirl in the chest, and Batman gets shot down and like crashes into.
Well, he wants to go for the big one.
Yeah,
he's like, that big ship. I'm going to go for that big ship over there, and he hits it with everything, because that's what 89 Batman. Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne Batman only fires every gun he has, right? And so every missile, but the ship is shielded, and it shoots back because he caught its attention.
Yep,
and so he's in trouble.
He can't eject. So he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna fucking crash into it.
Yeah, and this is one moment in the trailer that for a second really shocked me, because in the trailer what happens is a Kryptonian lands on the cockpit and rips the thing out, and he ejects out like that and then swoops down, right? That doesn't happen. He slams into the ship and blows up and dies. And I'm just like,
well, shit.
Oh, that's different from the trailer.
So the Barrys are like, okay, fuck this. We can run really fast. Let's just go back in time and fix it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, okay. So they
Control Z.
Run back in time. They go back a couple minutes. They're like, all right, here's the plan. You go help Supergirl with her thing. I'll help Bruce with his thing. Nobody dies.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So they go off. They do their thing. Old Bear's like, hey, Bruce, don't fucking shoot the big thing. Go shoot that big guy. And Bruce is like, absolutely, got you.
So what you're saying is I should fire every missile I have at that one guy right there. Yes.
Absolutely.
I thought you'd never ask. I'll get right on it.
Fucking does that. Young Barry goes to help Supergirl and like does a tornado around Zod, and she's able to get some good punches in. Finally, Zod is just like, wait a minute.
Gonna focus myself.
Gonna listen. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Bonk.
Yeah.
And just everything goes badly again. Supergirl gets stabbed. Bruce gets killed again. And they're like, Barrys are like, shit, we gotta try that again. Let's go back in time.
Yeah.
And old Barry is like, wait a minute.
Well, there was one moment where the second time with Batman, he has a really neat fight with one of the Kryptonians where he's putting charges around him and shit and like jumping
it's the
around.
Big guy, and he's like, planting bombs on him and spinning around him and all that shit.
But he's a 70-year-old man, and he gets slammed into the ground really hard. And I could tell, like, he gets up because he's fucking Batman. Yeah. Like, he's like, no one will ever see him fall over, right? So he gets up, but I could tell
nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
I could tell the way he's like, he stands up and he almost falls over. I'm like, oh shit, that dude's hurt.
Yeah.
And they defeat him, and then it catches up to him, and he falls over, and he's clearly got internal bleeding and shit. And like Barry tells him, I can fix this. I'll bring you back. And he tells him, you already brought me back, which is that thought of him in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like, I got to be Batman again. What the fuck you talking? This is the best day of my fucking life.
It goes into the classic question of who's the primary personality, Batman or Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, it's Batman.
And yeah, in this case, it's Batman was pretending to be Bruce Wayne for so many years, and this is finally him getting to be himself again.
Which is also a really brilliantly acted moment between Michael Keaton and Ezra Miller. It's just fucking great. And he dies, and it ripped my soul out because it, my favorite Batman. But I also went into this movie 100% certain he was going to die. So I was kind of steeled for it.
So the Bears go back again. And this time old Barry is like, dude, I think this is actually narrative fate. I think you got to let this one go. Young Barry's like, no, fuck that. I'm going to go change the past and fix everything.
Yeah.
So he goes back. You kind of see timey-wimey things happening all over.
Stuff's kind of falling apart a little bit.
Young Barry comes back. He's like, dude, where the fuck were you? I was trying to save everyone. Just you know what? Fuck it. Stay here. I'll go fix it myself. Runs back. More timey-wimey things happen. He comes back. Dude, seriously. I got these like chunks of metal sticking out of me. Like, are you going to help me or what? And it's implied that this happens a couple more times. And then things just start kind of breaking down around them. And you're going to have to... So what happens? Does Reverse Flash appear first, or do we see the other giant orbs of color?
Well, that's Reverse Flash shows up first, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe he doesn't. Tell us in the comments. I can't remember. But
so yeah, Reverse Flash comes in, and he's like, I've been around for longer than you can possibly imagine, and I'm still trying to fucking fix this shit.
I think he's been doing permutations of this fight forever. Like, just like probably an unconceivable amount of time.
And like, Barry punches him in the face, and like part of his mask breaks off, and they're like, wait a minute, you have the exact same scar that young Barry just got.
Yeah.
Holy shit, are you? He's like, yes, we are the same person.
Yeah. Now it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Like I've been trying to fix this for so fucking long, and now that we got 3 of me here, like we can do it. Just fucking come back with me one more time, we're gonna fix it. And Barry's like, dude, you have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to quit. Like, look at what it's doing.
Yeah, like everything around us is breaking down. Right.
And then they start showing these individual universes starting to collide, which I thought was kind of an interesting...
I think we see, I think it's Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Yeah, which is a really nice moment. I could see what they were trying to do with it, because while the Christopher Reeve's Superman movies were super campy and
they were products of their time.
Yeah, they didn't catch on like Batman did in '89. People still really love Christopher Reeves. A lot of the reason because of what tragically happened to him after those films, and how much of an advocate he was after that in his life until he died. And so we were talking about this in the car. They treated very reverently. They set John Williams' Superman theme, and that canon's version of Supergirl is also there, because there is a terrible Supergirl movie that not a lot of people know about, and it's fucking awful. But there she is.
Yep. They show another Superman that I didn't recognize.
That was the very first Superman.
Okay.
That was the first film, the first Superman on film.
And there was Nicolas Cage's Superman.
Right. So they show like an really old black and white version of the Flash, which
the weird helmet and uniform thing.
And then Nick Cage's. Now, if you're thinking, what are you talking about? Nick Cage's fucking Superman. Nick Cage was going to be Superman in a movie. Not a lot of people. It kind of like started like they were going to do it, and there was a screen test. Famously, you can Google it, of Nick Cage with his long straggly hair in a super suit with his fucking chest hair sticking out the top, and you get to see him fighting a giant spider with his little curly fucking chest hairs poking out of his suit and shit. You see the Adam West Batman in one of the orbs. There's I
feel like there are a couple more.
There probably were. I just can't remember.
Anyway,
those were the really big ones.
Yeah, so you get all these universes with these kind of bad CGI representations of these actors.
You see, and that's something that took me out of the Christopher Reeves thing. Was that like I get what you're trying to do here, and that the music is good and you're really warming it up and everything, but at the end of the day, it looks like trash. It just doesn't look very good.
But they're all turning and looking at these holes in reality, and like these universes are starting to crash together. And Barry's like, "Look at what we're doing! We're destroying the multiverse. We need to just fucking stop. Just let this happen and fucking let it go." And Reverse Flash is like, "Fuck that! I am in this way too deep. I
am balls deep.
Yes, I have the fucking."
And Barry Allen does not pull out
the fucking investment fallacy, sunk cost fallacy. Yeah. I'm riding this thing to the end. Also, I'm going to stab you with this piece of metal that's in my arm. And young Barry's like, "What if you didn't?
Yeah.
What if you stabbed me instead? Oh God, you stabbed me."
Yeah.
And then Reverse Flash dies. And then young Barry's like, "Hey, here's this monkey that our mom gave us. You can have it, I guess." And Barry's like,
character growth.
Yeah. So young Barry dies, and Barry's like, "Okay, I'm going to have to undo all this. Like, clearly the problem here was me saving my mom's life. So as much as it really sucks and I don't want to, I kind of have to go back and let my mom die this time."
Yeah.
So he does. He goes back to the supermarket. He sees himself put the can of tomatoes in his mother's cart, and he like just he's disguised himself, but he strikes up conversation with his mom. And it's another one of those moments of Ezra Miller acting really well.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The whole conversation is, first of all, like, but the first thing I had to laugh at was like, because he makes conversation over a box of cereal. Mm-hmm. It's like in 2023, that woman would have been like, and just walked off.
Well, I don't think this isn't 2020. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Like anyone now would be like, why are you talking to me?
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. But no, they do. They have this insanely heartfelt. It's you know what it reminded me of is in Endgame when Thor runs into his mom, where it's a little different because she's a little more aware of what's happening. Like she knows that he's like from a different time and everything. Yeah. But it's this catharsis for the character, getting to see his dead mom again and just being able to see her and share some words and to be able to tell her that he loves her, that he's like, all right, maybe I couldn't have her back totally, but maybe this is good enough. Yeah. So there you go.
So he does the Flash thing, takes the tomatoes out of her cart, puts it back on the shelf. It's implied that he does something else. Like he looks up and sees the camera, but we cut away before we can see what he does.
Yeah.
So he runs back in time, gets back to his place, realizes, holy shit, I'm supposed to be in court right now, runs down to court. He gets in right as they're presenting the evidence that Bruce Wayne had prepared for him. And it turns out that on the security footage, you can now see like his father looks up because the tomatoes are on the top shelf of the aisle now. And it clearly establishes that his father was innocent.
Yeah. So, and you can tell he couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I can't save one parent. So like
maybe I can save the other.
Yeah. Maybe at least one of them, instead of like my dad being in prison and my mom dying, maybe I can save one of them. And so he does it. But everything seems normal. Yeah, everything is fine. And like the evidence exonerates his father. Yeah. Everything is going great.
So Barry leaves court with his crush, and they have a real awkward conversation.
They schedule a date.
Yeah.
They're going to go fuck.
And then Barry's phone rings and it's Bruce. It's like, hey, Bruce, thanks for the evidence. Everything is great. Everything's good.
The second I heard the voice over the phone, I knew who it was.
Yeah.
Because we had just watched this movie yesterday.
Yes.
Or the day before.
So fucking Bruce says, yep, I'm pulling up right now. We'll talk in person. So his Mercedes pulls up. He parks at the curb. Like this security guy is pushing all the media back. And who should walk out but motherfucking George Clooney?
George Clooney is Bruce Wayne, which is funny because out of all the older Batman movies, his is by far the worst. Yeah. And he isn't necessarily he's absolutely not the reason it's bad, because George Clooney is an insanely good actor. Mm-hmm. Looks Bruce Wayne as motherfucker. Like the dude could be Bruce Wayne in real life. Like he's suave. He looks like he's filthy fucking rich, and he just like you know in Spider-Man No Way Home, where like Jamie Foxx's character in The Amazing Spider-Man was really stupid, mm-hmm. but then they brought him into this other universe, and he's actually really cool. Yeah. And like everyone kind of liked him. Yeah. I feel like maybe they're trying to go for one of those things.
Yeah, maybe.
Where they're like, George Clooney's movie was shitty, but he's actually kind of good here. Yeah, he's a good actor. Let's try this again. And that's where the movie ends. Mm-hmm.
With fucking Barry Allen being like, what the fuck? I thought I fixed all this.
Yeah. So there's a post-credit scene that...
it's him tracking down this universe's Aquaman and convincing him to be a hero or something. I don't know.
So, and I don't think he's probably like, you know what, Ben Affleck wanted out of this anyway, so I'm just going to leave this where it is. Yeah. As long as there are still other metahumans around, like if the worst thing to happen is that Ben Affleck isn't here, which he didn't want to be anyway, maybe I'll just use this, you leave this universe alone.
So is George Clooney going to be Batman now?
No. No, they're done with this. Oh, like the one of the trailers we saw today was Blue Beetle, mm-hmm. which is like the first property in the James Gunn reslate of DC. So
this was really just like the epilogue of the old DC.
You know why they did it is I think they were like, if this movie makes tons of money, if it is a huge commercial success, then we'll do more. And maybe we'll bring George Clooney back. I don't think it will be. I think that it's, I don't know, man. I was going to say this during our spoiler-free thing. They pumped expectations up way too high for this movie. There were respected people out there talking about how it was the best superhero movie since Dark Knight.
It really isn't.
It's not. And
it's not even the best Batman movie since Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Rises is better.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, we'll see how it does this weekend at the box office. Maybe the critical score on Rotten Tomatoes is low. It's not super low, but it's
not great.
Yeah, it's like 60 something, or maybe 71. But the audience score is like 98. So this could be one of those things that by word of mouth, maybe a lot of people get really excited for it. My partner, John.
Yeah, he said he had a great time.
He loved it. He really loved it. And so like, maybe the people will be a little less hard on it than we were. And if it makes a shit ton of money, you heard it here first. They will make another one. Like there will be George Clooney Batman somewhere. So anyway, we're never up this late for our live show.
We had unlimited time.
Yeah,
we
that's true. Yeah, I wasn't worried. At first I was like, oh, we got to go play battle. Oh yeah, right. So anyway, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. I will be back here tomorrow night at 7 for some Battlefront. So check us out there. I would love to have you. It'd be a lot of fun. And then our live show next week will probably be on. We'll talk about it. It won't be on our normal time, but we'll let you guys know. So
it will happen.
Yeah. So thank you. Have a great night.
Bye.
Oh, my back hurts.